Thank you very much. She didn't tell you she likes Gerties in Dawson. So Klondike Gold is surprisingly looking for gold in the Klondike. It's a very early stage exploration company. The company itself has been around since 1980, but the new iteration of it, which I'm presenting today, is this particular presentation is the first ever to investors of this new corporation. We're focused on the Klondike. We own all the quartz claims beneath most of the Klondike district, which is just outside of Dawson in the Yukon. The area has produced 20 million ounces of placer gold mined from gravels over the last 100 years. It's well known and academically established that that gold came from the rocks directly beneath the streams from which the gold came from, but nobody until now has been able to source the bedrock source of the gold. So just as a beginning, the current corporate structure of the company, Frank Justra took an interest in this quite a while ago, or say 5 years ago, and is now a 20% owner. Another billionaire, the Aquilinis, own just under 10%. There's some private investors there, and insiders own significant position. All in about 45%. Actually, if I include another 1 or 2 people, we go over 50% that are all friends of the company. The shares issued, 41.5 million shares. We're trading at 25 to 28 cents currently. It gives it a fully diluted market cap of somewhere around 15 to 17 million dollars. We have $1.5 million in the treasury. If you're looking at the warrants, there are about 16 million warrants exercisable at 15 to 20 cents. They're all in the money. They're worth about $3.5 million today, all held basically by the major shareholders you see in that list. So the company has about $5 million in cash, has a market cap of arguably $15 million, so it's a $10 million company. And what we're going to do is, as Eric would call it, it's a drill play, and Gwen would call it an early stage exploration play. We're going to take the money that we have and drill 50 holes or so this summer to find or document and prove that we know where the source of the Klondike gold actually is in the bedrock. The corporate history is, because it's kind of a convoluted history, I am going to go back and give you a sense of what's happened. Originally, the company was founded by Richard Hughes in 1980. And in 1983, he's co-discoverer with Don McKinnon and John Larch of the Hemlo deposit. And he became a rock star in 1983. By 1984, I think you had 40 or 50 companies all being managed by him, and he was everywhere. So the inconsistent exploration began with him. Literally, he'd show up every 4 years with a $500,000 program to do enough assessment work to keep the property for another 4 years. And that went on for 20 years. Following that, we had civil engineers doing bedrock exploration. It's abysmal. Then following that, it was a placer miner. The placer miner enticed Frank Justra to invest in the then Klondike Gold venture. It didn't turn out very well, and that's where my involvement came, because Frank asked me personally in August of 2013 to audit the company. And so I went in to see, basically I had 2 questions to answer. Number 1 was, where did my money go? And number 2, are the properties good? Is the exploration potential on these properties any use at all? My answer was, your money is all gone. But the exploration potential of the property, I've done a lot of Gen X and a lot of searching the world for projects, and this one really impressed me. It's one of the best ones I've seen in the world, especially considering that the exploration for 35 years has been poor. And so looking at it, and I now know more of the exploration history, the last really well done exploration program in here was in 1960. So if you consider from an exploration point of view and trying to scour the world for million-ounce gold potential projects on a district scale, go back to 1960 and pretend this is it. I know it's difficult for me to present to you that this is so unexplored because it's been in the news for so long, and twice in the last 35 years it's been promoted to over 100 million market cap on a lot of arm waving and oxygen, and it's not really had much attention from professional exploration. So what happened? So basically, misery loves company. Frank made me roll back. I also have a background in cleaning these companies up. It took a year to do. We went to Sprott, who, it was a kind of the last resort. He financed it, and Eric himself has a small share position in the company. To get us going, it allowed us to do in 2015 an exploration program where we drilled 19 holes on a developing reinterpretation of a structural model, which I'll show in a minute. We drilled 19 holes, 14 of them hit visible gold. We made 2 legitimate discoveries. One was 76 grams over about 3 meters. The other one was 5 grams over 7.5 meters. So this is where the properties are. We're right directly outside of Dawson. We own 250 square kilometers. That represents about half of the physical land area of the Klondike and the bulk of the best potential. I also am the evil claim lord on Discovery Channel. If you need to know, that's the placer claims. It doesn't really belong in a public company, but for the last 2 years, it's netted Klondike Gold $750,000. What happened to change the idea here? We reinterpreted, or did an interpretation because it had never been done, of the 2002 airborne magnetics. There's a 50-kilometer long fault that runs through the entire Klondike district. It has pinnate fractures coming off it, and it ends on the left-hand side in a horsetail feature that had never been documented before. The total length of all those major structures, and I think the Dester-Porcupine Fault here, but there's 200 to 300 kilometers of major structures on that map. We've since gone back and done detailed ground magnetics over the entire area, and we have hundreds and hundreds of drill targets based on the structure. The gold here is controlled by structure, and we now know the age of it. It's Jurassic, and that is exactly analogous to the golden saddle. That's Underworld's discovery in it was taken over by Kinross in 2011, and that kicked off $600 million worth of investment in the Yukon looking for exactly this type of deposit, except it was being run by a placer miner and nobody knew about it. So here we are today. We can place it in a metallogenic context. We know it's Jurassic. It's just like Golden Saddle. We can use all that information to explore. And basically, that's just, so what we're gonna do, we did the 2015 drilling that I just mentioned. It was the first time that model was incorporated, and it was the best drill program ever on the property. The zones themselves are vein arrays, at least this one is. This one is really odd because it does not have a fault signature with it, but it gave us the best grade over width results, and I'm just showing this to you to give you a sense of the geology. There's a series of stacked veins there over 5 meters. They run 5 grams. This was bulk sampled back in the day and run on a riffle bore, or a shaker table, placer table. And there was 2 tons of rock went through it, and they got average 7 grams. It's all free gold. There's a picture of it. And on the right, I just want to highlight the grades and how basically these veins, individual veins, run an ounce, roughly. And the judge for the exploration potential is where can we go to cram a lot of veins into one particular area. So this particular intercept had 22% veining, and it ran 5.3 grams over 7.6 meters. What we're looking for now as an exploration model is where to go to get 80 to 100% veining, which will run an ounce. We've had samples up to 1,000 ounces of gold. That's just a drill section. This is how we're planning on drilling this year, which I'll get to. It's basically every outcrop. We're going to go and hit it with 2 drill holes, one 45 degrees just below it, and one at 85 degrees to test the down dip. The gold itself is all coarse. That picture on the bottom is drill core from last year, and we're getting 2-centimeter clots of gold that sits right beside El Dorado Creek, and that's where it's 75 meters off El Dorado Creek, where the largest nuggets in the Klondike came from. And that is the bedrock source of the Klondike nuggets. So what are we going to do in 2016? Basically, we're going to drill a lot. And we have approved $750,000 budget. I think I can drill more than 50 holes for that. They're all very short because we're targeting bedrock quartz veins with visible gold or high grade in outcrop. We're stepping 20 meters behind every one of them, drill a hole, and see what Mother Nature gives us. It's a systematic program. We're going to go around the property, and I'm just going to flash up a couple of targets. The drill is currently turning, started on Thursday in the middle of that 284, the red dot, drilling that 284-gram trench. That was done in 1988 by Richard Hughes and has never been tested since. The dotted line is a secondary fault, and that secondary fault that goes through the trench is exactly what's controlling the quartz vein. That line is 2.5 kilometers long. Every single one of these targets has multi-kilometer length with gold on them. That's the nugget. That represents the pictures I showed you. I want to show you this one. This one we used 1949 ortho photo. We went back to the old ortho photos. You can see the original 1905 Klondike era work in bedrock in it. And these were all lost and haven't been visited since before World War II. We've gone back, sampled them, they're all on gold. So 5 drill holes are planned. That's a 600-meter strike length across that. And the total length off the page, total length 3.5 kilometers away, is the original Violet Mine, which was a 150-foot shaft, multi-levels, back also in 1905. And there's a mag feature and structure that runs right down the whole length of it. So we have neighbors, we have Underworld, and we now have Gold Corp, Kamenak. They actually drive through our property. There's a quartz vein 3 meters wide that runs 3 ounces right on our Dominion property that has never been drilled as well. And we also have electricity. We're 20 kilometers, 20.2 from the gas station to the first drill pad. This is all on the outskirts of Dawson. It's incredibly cheap to drill. It's the cheapest drill program I've ever been involved with ever. It was $106 a meter, all in with the dozer for the pads. And as a nod to Brent Cook, he likes to value, if you notice on the bottom, the start of it, on these things, it has less than 0 valuation in a company if you don't make a discovery. I really like that, but that's where we're at. We're about to go drill 50 holes. Drilling is underway, and this is a high risk and very high reward investment situation. Thank you very much.